Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how to write a query letter, but for this video I am just going to call it a Q letter to make it short and simple. Alright, let's talk about what a Q letter is. It's a very important tool to keep in your toolbox because it's something people that are writers, entrepreneurs, something in those fields will most likely use in the future. And well, a Q letter is basically a formal letter that you send to magazines, magazine editors, literary agents, publishing companies. Writers write Q letters to propose their writing ideas. Normally, it gets an author a step closer to their goal to get their product out there. Before I can talk about how to write one, let's talk about what not to do, right? I think that's very important before you actually start to write one. In the Q letter, you don't want to be arrogant, right? You don't want to be cocky. You want to save that, relax. There's no need for that. You don't want to. You also don't want to include your age because you don't want to create an unintentional bias. You really don't want that, right? Don't waste time, right? Don't say, "I know you're. Thank you so much for reading this. I know you're busy." There's no need for that. You don't need to remind them that they're busy. They know they're busy. You gotta relax. You don't include that. Also, don't include writing credits that aren't meaningful, right? Stick to your story and your concept. That's the don'ts, basically. All right, we talked about the don'ts. Let's talk about the do's, right? Get to the point, like I said before. Don't waste time. Cut to the chase, right? You want to also address the agent by their name. The reason for this is you want to personalize it, right? You don't want to say, "Oh, dear agent," right? You want to make sure your letter is personalized, get that attention towards them, right? You also want to know your agent. Do a little research, right? You got to do your homework. You can't try to sell an agent something that they wouldn't agree with, right? You got to know what you're trying to sell. You got to make sure that the agent you're trying to sell it to also has some sort of belief in the same thing, right? They if they like non-fictions, right, or something like that, don't try to sell them in sci-fi. Like that doesn't make sense. If you have a platform, mention your platform, right? You have a blog post, you average 1,000 views, something like that. Make sure to mention it. If it's sort of big, right? If you don't have one, there's no need to worry. All right, like you won't get excluded, right? So make sure you want to sell it. You want to sell what you're trying to sell, all right? Trying to sell your product. You want to make sure that you want it. You got to make sure that they want it. You got to spend the most time trying to sell your product. Got to make sure it looks good, it reads good, and makes them interested. Have a good hook, everything. All right, it's time for an example. You can pause the video now, read over it. I'm gonna summarize it. I'm gonna go through it. But if you want to read it for yourself, go ahead, pause the video now, read it. All right. It starts off with dear, and then in the brackets it says agent name. Like we said before, you want to personalize your letter. You don't want it to be broad. The first three paragraphs are the hook, right? Obviously, the first paragraph is the hook, right? But like the first three paragraphs are like the juicy part. What you're trying to sell, the story, your yeah, basically your story, right? So we see those three paragraphs. We move on to the fourth one. Tells us the title, one match fire. How many words is it? What kind of genre it is, right? A romance. It also says that one match is a standalone with serious potential, right? They're being confident. They're not being cocky, right? They're not saying this is the best story. This is gonna give you millions of dollars. It's gonna come bring customers left and right. No, it just says it has a serious amount of potential. And what the author proceeds to do is establish a little credibility, right? I wrote this many books. I did this. I helped out with this, etc. And then it goes to do sincerely and their name, right? Cut straight to the chase. No, thank you for your time. Nothing like that. And yeah, that's basically how you write a query letter. Always remember to know that it's not going to be enough, right? You need to write more, you need to do more examples, look at more examples. But for this video, I'm going to leave the example I used in the description. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and that'll be all for me. Hope this helped on how to write a query letter.